Hi, I'm Claudine Allen. I'm General Manager of the Jane Foundation, or community arm, and we believe in putting people first. But today I'm talking to you as a daughter, a sister, as a fellow Jamaican who has been vaccinated. We can only get back to some semblance of normalcy if we develop immunity to this dreaded virus. This global pandemic has changed so many things in our lives, and there are things I am longing for. I'm longing for a beach day. I'm longing to just meet with my friends and enjoy food and frolic and fun. So do the maths. We have had over 80,000 cases and rising. I got immunized because I wanted to protect myself and my family. I encourage you to go to your nearest vaccination site and get immunized, and to do it right now.
I decided to get the vaccine because I do not want to be a burden on our healthcare system. I also, of course, want to protect my friends, my family, and all those who might be more vulnerable than I might be. I miss being outside. As cliche as it might sound, I miss you, our members. I miss interacting with you. I miss your smiles. Just being able to see you is what I miss. Getting the vaccine for me was pretty simple. I had no major side effects, slight headache and fever, but that's nothing a painkiller couldn't manage. Immunize, save lives.
Hi, I'm Jeff, and I decided to get the vaccine because I felt like it was the right thing to do for myself and my family. I feel like I needed to play my role in advancing the welfare of the entire human race, and my job is just a small drop in the bucket for a safer and a better tomorrow. Getting the vaccine was pretty easy, pretty simple, much like squeezing a pimple. I got both doses, took my painkillers on time, got my rest, drank my water, and now I'm fully immunized. Listen and speak to your doctor. Don't listen and speak to your WhatsApp group them. Focus on the persons, who have actual knowledge in these things, and everything's gonna be easy. I'm here, I'm okay, and this could be you. Immunize, save lives.
Hi, I'm Claudine Allen. I'm General Manager of the Jane Foundation, or community arm, and we believe in putting people first. But today I'm talking to you as a daughter, a sister, as a fellow Jamaican. We can only get back to some semblance of normalcy if we develop immunity to this dreaded virus. This global pandemic has changed so many things in our lives, and there are things I am longing for. I'm longing for a beach day. I'm longing to just meet with my friends and enjoy food and frolic and fun. So do the maths. We have had over 80,000 cases and rising. I got immunized because I wanted to protect myself and my family. I encourage you to go to your nearest vaccination site and get immunized, and to do it right now.
I decided to get the vaccine because I do not want to be a burden on our healthcare system. I also, of course, want to protect my friends, my family, and all those who might be more vulnerable than I might be. I miss being outside. As cliche as it might sound, I miss you, our members. I miss interacting with you. I miss your smiles. Just being able to see you is what I miss. Getting the vaccine for me was pretty simple. I had no major side effects, slight headache and fever, but that's nothing a painkiller couldn't manage. Immunize, save lives.
Hi, I'm Jeff, and I decided to get the vaccine because I felt like it was the right thing to do for myself and my family. I feel like I needed to play my role in advancing the welfare of the entire human race, and my job is just a small drop in the bucket for a safer and a better tomorrow. Getting the vaccine was pretty easy, pretty simple, much like squeezing a pimple. I got both doses, took my painkillers on time, got my rest, drank my water, and now I'm fully immunized. Listen and speak to your doctor. Don't listen and speak to your WhatsApp group them. Focus on the persons, who have actual knowledge in these things, and everything's gonna be easy. I mean, I'm here, I'm okay, and this could be you. Immunize, save lives.
Hi, I'm Claudine Allen. I'm General Manager of the Jane Foundation, or community arm, and we believe in putting people first. But today I'm talking to you as a daughter, a sister, as a fellow Jamaican who has been vaccinated. We can only get back to some semblance of normalcy if we develop immunity to this dreaded virus. This global pandemic has changed so many things in our lives, and there are things I am longing for. I'm longing for a beach day. I'm longing to just meet with my friends and enjoy food and frolic and fun. So do the maths. We have had over 80,000 cases and rising. I got immunized because I wanted to protect myself and my family. I encourage you to go to your nearest vaccination site and get immunized, and to do it right now.
I decided to get the vaccine because I do not want to be a burden on our healthcare system. I also, of course, want to protect my friends, my family, and all those who might be more vulnerable than I might be. I miss being outside. As cliche as it might sound, I miss you, our members. I miss interacting with you. I miss your smiles. Just being able to see you is what I miss. Getting the vaccine for me was pretty simple. I had no major side effects, slight headache and fever, but that's nothing a painkiller couldn't manage. Immunize, save lives.
Hi, I'm Jeff, and I decided to get the vaccine because I felt like it was the right thing to do for myself and my family. I mean, I feel like I needed to play my role in advancing the welfare of the entire human race, and my job is just a small drop in the bucket for a safer and a better tomorrow. Getting the vaccine was pretty easy, pretty simple, much like squeezing a pimple. I got both doses, took my painkillers on time, got my rest, drank my water, and now I'm fully immunized. Listen and speak to your doctor. Don't listen and speak to your WhatsApp group them. Focus on the persons, who have actual knowledge in these things, and everything's gonna be easy. I mean, I'm here, I'm okay, and this could be you. Immunize, save lives.
Hi, I'm Claudia.
Good afternoon, everybody. With us this afternoon is Dr. Kieran Bridgewater. I'd also like to say a special welcome to Mr. Andre Latti, the Executive of People and Culture, and other members of the People and Culture team who are joining us not only here, but also online. To the JN members who are present with us this afternoon, I bid you a very good afternoon, along with everybody else who is online joining us today. Now, I'm Kerry Scott, as most of you will know already. I'm the head of real estate and properties at JN Properties Limited. And this afternoon, I'd like to welcome you to our first in the series of what we call the JN Vax Chat. Now, before we begin, I'd like to mention a few house rules. Everybody who would have been on social media and who would hear about online platforms would know that we have to keep those mics muted while presentations are going on. Also, there's a Q&A button that is where you can post questions, and you're all free to discuss anything at all or comment in the chats. Now, the conversation this afternoon is centered around COVID-19. As of this week, more than 90,000 persons have contracted COVID-19. 2,000 deaths in Jamaica. 253 million people worldwide have been affected by this virus. 5 million deaths. 600,000 people from Jamaica would have gotten at least one dose of the vaccine to date. And we're still struggling because we are not yet at a place that we would love to be. We're still the lowest, one of the lowest in the Caribbean in terms of vaccination rate. Now, this afternoon, we are hosting the first of a series of Vax Chat sessions for our JN Group team. And this goes especially for our frontline workers because they are out there, they're facing the public every day. And this also is a part of our Immunize, Save Lives campaign. And we hope that we'll be able to provide some information on COVID-19 and to help reduce vaccine hesitancy, across our team members. These chats, we will share information, and that is why we have you here, because we believe that you are eminently qualified to do so. And with that, we hope that more of our team members will participate in the conversation. We hope that more of our team members will ultimately get vaccinated, because that in and of itself is what we all strive for. And that is what we hope, will bring us back to normalcy. And when I say normalcy, I'm talking about being able to play sports, just go out, breathe the fresh air, and to even hug again. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Dr. Bridgewater, who will take us through her presentation this afternoon.
Thank you so much. And I agree wholeheartedly with the sentiments that you expressed a while ago. I am Dr. Kiri Bridgewater, and I want to say thank you so much to the JN Group for having me here today. Don't be thrown off by the fact that there's a PowerPoint. I am not here to lecture. I am not here to school. This is not a didactic interaction at all. These are just prompts to help us along in the conversation. We're really just here to talk and to get a better understanding so that we have better clarity to make the best decisions for ourselves, right? So we're talking today about COVID-19 vaccine. And why is this even relevant? I mean, as Mr. Scott just mentioned, COVID-19 has affected our lives, every single one of us. Locally, we've had over 90,000 cases and over 2,000 deaths. And it's really easy for people to say, oh, but we have 2.9 million people. That's not a big deal. That's actually a relatively small number. However, when you think about the fact that that could have been your mother, your father, your friend, your loved one, that's really over 2,000 families impacted. That's over 2,000 communities impacted possibly. And when it becomes close to home is when that number doesn't relatively seem so small anymore. So there are a lot of people that have lost, that are grieving, that are coping because of COVID. Separate, another point is COVID-19 has affected our lives significantly, as you just mentioned. It's a complete disruption of our lives. I used to like to go out. My makeup is almost caking up in the containers. I'm sure you guys know it. A shoe nearly dry rot and left me out a road one day because I just haven't been able to do the things that I want to do. If you're a beach person and Sunday was your beach day, for a whole month you couldn't even sail water. You know, it has affected our quality of life, which affects our mind. It affects how we cope. And there's a rise of depression because of COVID-19. There's a rise of domestic abuse because of COVID-19. There's a rise of sexual abuse because of COVID-19. And it is affecting people in every aspect of their lives. And of course, it's JN, the bank. So we have to talk about the money part. COVID has affected our pockets on a macro and a micro level, whether it be global economy, whether it be local economy, and our personal family economies. It has caused people to lose their jobs. It has caused us, the price of things are constantly rising. It's been challenging on all fronts. So that's why we brought about the vaccine. And generally speaking, vaccines, I want to just talk about the general principle behind the vaccine. Now, disclaimer, I am vaccinated. So I am speaking from the point of view as somebody who has made this decision. But trust me, I sat down and I thought long and hard about it before I made the decision too. Because I'm sure you can pick it up, but I am relatively young, right? I am in the childbearing years, right? I have ambitions to have children in the relatively near future. And so I did have to stop and think about these things. I did want to stop and not just take it for granted, but to make sure that it was a decision that I understood clearly when I made it, right? So generally speaking, I said I'm vaccinated from COVID-19, but you're all vaccinated too. Maybe not from COVID-19, but you're vaccinated from BCG. You're vaccinated against polio, measles, mumps, rubella, and vaccines is nothing that is new to us. For you to reach this point, to be in this room, to go to prep school, primary school, high school, college, you had to be vaccinated along the way, right? So vaccines are not something new. Vaccines are done to help our bodies to fight infections, to be effective and fast about clearing infections and getting our bodies over that hump. Vaccines help to prevent you from severe infections as well. So even if you do get the infection or if you are exposed, especially in the case of the COVID vaccine, the aim is that even if you do catch it, it should not have the serious implications that it might have had you not been vaccinated, right? And this is true from back in the day. So, I mean, most people, especially millennials and Gen Z, they, if you tell them about polio, they'll be like, I mean, I hear I get a vaccine for, but they can't tell you what polio looks like. They can't tell you what measles or mumps looked like. Our grandfathers, great-grandfathers, they knew polio used to ravage countries, leave people like unable to walk, leaving people crippled, things like that, you know? And because of the vaccine protocols, that is now something I think of the past, something that we talk about as a concept, but not something that we have any true knowledge of. And that's because so many people are vaccinated, right? So being able to be vaccinated helps us to get rid of infections better on a personal level, but it also has implications about those around us. So a lot of people are like, well, I'm young, forget COVID, life will go on. You know, my immune system is good, I'll beat it, it'll be okay. But what about your parents, you know? What about your grandparents? And if you're so blessed to have great grandparents that are around as well, these are people who may not be as fortunate. And so by being vaccinated, you decrease the chance of you contracting the virus and therefore you being a carrier to these people. So you're actually protecting them by virtue. Additionally, if we can all band together and get our COVID vaccine numbers up, then we can hopefully have the same fate with polio, where COVID now becomes something that we talk to our children and grandchildren about and go, oh, you know, there was this one flu that didn't liquid on one time, but we bounce back. And that would be the conversation, as opposed to where we are now, where, you know, it's still very present, very affecting our lives. I mean, simple things like having to wear masks all the time, you know? Hopefully we can get past that, and that can be something that will just show them in books one day, if we can band together and get on top of COVID-19 in general. And vaccines are generally made to be helpful. The point of any vaccine is to help to decrease the chance of the infection, decrease the spread of the infection, and to really ultimately eradicate the infection, get rid of it, right? Without harming the people that have been vaccinated. So when I say it like that, it make it seem like, why not just get vaccinated? Yep. Well, you have to ask yourself also then, so how do the vaccines work, right? So I'm not going to go too much into the nitty-gritty details, but there are 3 types that we have right now. We have the AstraZeneca, the Johnson & Johnson, and the Pfizer vaccines. Both the AstraZeneca and the Johnson & Johnson work using what we call viral vector method, and the Pfizer uses mRNA method. The important thing I think to take away from how vaccines work is that they actually take a piece of the protein from the virus to put it in your body, to allow your body to put it in a little capsule so that your body will fight the capsule. And in fighting the capsule, will be exposed to the protein and will be able to make the combination necessary to defeat it, and therefore to make memory cells so that it's able to defeat it even better if it's exposed again later on in life. All right? It's important to note that COVID-19 vaccine does not contain COVID-19 in it. And I think that's important for people to understand because that's a great misconception. Additionally, it's also important to note that the DNA, the information, because we use the words mRNA, I think that kind of threw off a lot of people because it's a type of DNA. And so the misconception was that it gets built into your DNA as well, but it actually does not. All right. So at no point does the vaccine's particles become a part of your DNA. It does not infiltrate your body on that level at all. It really just exposes your body to a protein so that it remembers the combination. So I see the combination to defeat it. So I see some men in the crowd, and of course, Mr. Scott, I don't know if you're a game head. Are you a game head?
Go again?
Video games.
Oh, absolutely not.
You see, I told you I'm young. All right. So this is going to go anti to my I'm young story. But I grew up in the days of Nintendo and Super Nintendo. Back then, you literally had 4 buttons on one side, 4 buttons on one side, and maybe one at the top on each side, right? Very simple, very straightforward. Now they have Xbox and PS5. And when I look at those controllers, I get very intimidated because it's like 6 buttons, joystick, 4 at the top, 4 on the other side. And so when I go to pick up the game to play like Fortnite or something with my brother, the first time I want to do a combination attack or something, it's really difficult. But the more and more I play the game, it becomes almost like second nature. My body's wired to say, okay, I want to pick up that thing. I want to fire that. I want to, if you play FIFA, I want to do a hat trick. And you automatically know what the combinations are for your fingers to do it. And you don't think about it anymore. And that's how vaccines work. So the first time you get there, you're exposed to it, your body's like, how to defeat this infection. But then it remembers that combination. And so the next time you get exposed to that infection, it's just like click, 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 boom, done. Right? And it's able to get over it a lot faster. Right? So that's the principle behind the vaccines. They train your body, they are not the actual virus, and they do not infiltrate your system. So again, when I make a case for why COVID is so serious, and I explain to you why the vaccine works and how it works, it might seem like, okay, so why don't we all get vaccinated? But there is a serious amount of vaccination hesitancy. And to say otherwise would just be to be silly at this point, right? And I understand it. And I've been having conversations with my patients. I've been having conversations with people, generally, especially when they hear I'm a doctor, like, so what do you think about this vaccine? I'm like, I'm for it, but tell me your concerns and let's talk. So a lot of the things that I've heard are, how they make it so fast? All these other vaccines took years. How this one just ups and come up so? Who had it in the back pocket? Is it that they gave us COVID to then give us the vaccine? And if so, why they want us to get the vaccine? And I understand that, especially because the previous vaccines took a longer time, why it would give you some amount of hesitancy and be like, something's up. But there's a reason for it. 2 main reasons from where I stand. The one that people will most commonly express to you is they were actually working on it from before. You are partially right, but not for the purpose of COVID. They were working on it because of SARS. They were working on it because of MERS, which are other respiratory illnesses that we get quite frequently that can actually be very severe and have claimed the lives of people in the past. So they're similar. They're very much like cousins or almost sisters, really. So to move from that vaccine to COVID-19 vaccine was an easier transition. So the foundation was there. So that's part of the reason. And that's the reason what a lot of people will tell you. The less popular reason is it was affecting the bigwigs. I'm not going to pretend. I think if COVID-19 was limited to just like an African state or something, or some third world area, I'm not entirely sure we would have a vaccine right now. But the reality is it was affecting big countries. It was affecting the US. It was affecting Europe. I mean, it was crippling economies in these countries. It was causing mass loss of life. You had prime ministers waking up with COVID-19, fearful for their lives. And when you have that kind of impact and it's affecting that sector of people, they're gonna have money pumped into it. And it's a JN, so let's be real. Money talks, right? Money talks on a local level, on an international level. And when you have that kind of money to pump into big pharma, you can have better results. And so I do think that's a part of why these vaccines came out so quickly, is because of the crippling impact it was having. Not just on us, they never make it for us in Jamaica. We are benefiting as a byproduct, but because of the larger mass that it was affecting and the bigger scale implications that this was going to have, right? So another thing that I get from people is, so why I can't just drink up my ginger, my turmeric, my Bitsy, my this, all my anti-inflammatories and boost up my immune system? And I'm fully in agreement with doing what you can to improve your immune system, right? However, I have one word for you: Delta. Delta was a game changer from where I stand as a physician. Maybe last year, this time before, when it was just, initial COVID-19, I wouldn't have been so hard and fast on vaccination and, the age groups for the vaccination and such. One, because we didn't have as much evidence at that time, but also two, because it was a much milder form at that time. Delta kind of came and changed the game. I work in the public system and I work in the private system, and I can tell you there's a stark difference in the kind of people that are being affected by it. And as a result, even the young are getting sick, even the young are dying, regardless of their comorbidities. So yes, I'm in full agreement with boosting your immune system, but why not think of the vaccine as another way to boost your immune system, as opposed to thinking of it as a replacement for it, right? I also heard talk about the side effects. Everything in life has side effects. Even the Panadol that we pop without thinking about it can have side effects. The most common side effects when it comes to the vaccine are just mostly like flu-like symptoms. Yes, some of them are associated with a little bit more severe. So like there's, I think, a myocarditis. There we go. Myocarditis, where there's inflammation around the heart. There's also an association sometimes with blood clots, particularly with one particular one. But what I will say to that is that, one, these complications are actually seen more commonly in patients with COVID-19, even more so than people that have just been vaccinated. And two, there's so many things that we do in our mundane lives that puts at risk for these things as well, that we don't even think about. And the ratio or the risk of these things happening are so small in comparison to those other things. Like simple things like women, we take our birth control pill, and things like that. And a lot of these things put us at high risk of clot formation as well. But we do these things because it's the lesser of the evils when we compare it to getting pregnant when we're not ready, right? And so again, it's the lesser of the evil when you think about possibly getting COVID-19 and having a severe complication or worse, And so, yes, there are some documented side effects, but they're, one, very infrequent, and two, the odds or the complications of getting the virus are that much more worse than the actual vaccine itself. So you're still at a net benefit at the end of the day. And then, of course, the most common one I get as an OBGYN is, but what about my fertility? Doc, I want to pick me.
Indeed.
Don't mash up my life. Don't me just get married. Don't me just find a new man. I don't know if something will work out. So, I don't want to take the vaccine, and suppose we can't give no youth, and and it's a real concern that we have. So what about our fertility? Long and short is no, it's not going to affect it, but I'll go into details for you. All right. I know, sigh of relief. So for you, Mr. Scott, and the men out there, I thought this was quite timely. I was scrolling on my Instagram and I saw this come up on the Jamaica Gleaner page, and I actually went on the website to look at the article. And Dr. Wedderburn, who is actually a urologist, who is the male equivalent to what I am as a gynecologist. He deals particularly with men, genitourinary things, but particularly as well for the males, came out and spoke explicitly about testicular health with the vaccine and COVID-19. And he said that they are seeing COVID-19 virus itself is causing serious implications in terms of men's sexual function. It does cause some amount of erectile dysfunction, and it can also cause decreases in testicular health, and as a result, sperm quality as well. However, they've done tons of studies and they've shown that they have not seen that associated with the vaccine. So you're actually protecting your swimmers from the potential harm of the vaccine, of the harm of the disease when you take the vaccine. And then what about our women? So there's a lot of questions about, our fertility and, how is it going to affect us? Will it affect my baby if I get pregnant? If I'm currently pregnant, can I take the vaccine, etc.? So what the evidence has shown, and they've done studies over the year and plus 2 years now, is that they don't see any implications on our fertility. And the main reason for it is because it doesn't really get embedded in our system. It really only goes to the infection fighting cells to give them the code to fight the vaccine. That's the sole purpose of the vaccine. It does not get embedded in your system. It does not affect your body out in any other significant way or on a deeper level than that. It does not affect your hormone levels on a level deeper than that. And it certainly doesn't affect your eggs and things of that nature. So as a result, they found that the women who have gotten the vaccine and those who have not have the same level of fertility, right? It has also been given to women in pregnancy, and they've been doing tons of studies. I myself in my practice have had women who were previously vaccinated who got pregnant and had their babies, and I've had patients who've been vaccinated in their pregnancies and have since delivered their babies. And we have not found any structural abnormalities with those babies at all. And their pregnancies were pretty routine, nothing that was out of the norm and nothing that was caused by the vaccine. Now, the concession that I will make is, it's been about 2 years. We don't know long term down the road, right? And I believe in being very honest and frank. We don't know long term down the road, especially non-structural things. So, like behavioral patterns and things of that nature. However, based on the science of it, and again, based on how we know the vaccines are made to work and the levels that they do and don't infiltrate our system, we know that it should not have any long-term impacts. And all the babies so far have been hitting their milestones according to plan. So as it stands, we have no reason to believe. And I myself, as I said, took the vaccine because I believe as well, having understood the science of it, that there's no way for it to affect my unborn children. Plus, another thing to consider, the fact that the vaccination coverage is waning, as disappointing as it is, actually goes to reinforce that it can't affect your children. It can't affect you in that regard. Because if your immunity levels actually start to fall so early, if you have a baby 6 months from now, 1 year from now, 2 years from now, there's very residual effect left in your system for that to have any impact on any offspring of yours, right? And therefore, as it stands, the answer is no, we do not see any difference, and we do not expect to see any difference. Now, there is one thing that I have noticed, and it is that some people have menstrual irregularities around the time of the vaccine, right? And so a lot of people have been spooked by that. They say, see there, my period gone. Yes, Lord, we can't have children again. We mash up my womb, it's a wrap, right? And that's the reality of it. And I've gotten patients beside themselves about it. But what we found so far, they're still doing further tests about it, but what we found so far is no, it's not related to your hormones in that way. It's actually just the stress of it. So because the body creates a fake infection to help your body to learn the combination to fight it, your body gets stressed out. If you really think back at it, women in the crowd, I mean, maybe from your partner and such, if you catch a really bad flu or a little, a really bad gastro or something, you'll notice that your period does funny things then as well, because it's a period of stress for your body, physical stress. When you're even stressed about your exams and things like that, when the man has stressed you, all these things can affect your period and your cycle. That's just how our bodies are meant. They're very sensitive in that way. And what we've found is that these changes in the menstrual cycle have been very short, very fleeting. And within about a cycle or two, the women are back on target. So while yes, it might seem a bit off-putting and scary, especially if somebody's going to somebody's relaying that experience to you, I just want to just shed some light on why it happens so that we can be a bit more comfortable that no, it is not affecting our fertility in any serious way. So in closing, COVID is serious, guys. I want to get back to life. I'm sure you feel the same, right? It's not, we can't say in absolutes, but on a chemical level, on a scientific level, on a molecular level, it adds up. And I hope that me explaining this to you helps you to appreciate that in a way so that you will be empowered to make the best decisions for you, for your children, for your unborn children. All right, so thank you so much for having me. I'm sure if you have any questions, then you can feel free to ask.
Thank you, Dr. Bridgewater. And I'm sure we'll have some questions. And I realized a while ago when you said to the women, when the men's stressing you, I realized that we got a lot of amens from the,
I wasn't going to tell on them.
But thank you so much for your presentation. I would now like to invite our virtual audience to post questions in the Q&A box on your screen. Members of our physical audience, you may raise your hands and we will certainly acknowledge you. But while we wait on our first question from the audience, we have some questions in advance that will start off the Q&A session. These questions would have been sent via the engagement mailbox. And the first question is, what is recommended for expecting mothers as it relates to taking the vaccine? Is there a particular stage that they may take it, or do they take it at all?
Okay, that's a great question. So the current recommendation internationally and locally is that women can take the vaccine at any stage in their pregnancy. Me personally, I tend to wait until the first trimester is done, right? I'm a Jamaican, so I have to sprinkle a little salt on it, but it is safe. I've had patients take the vaccine not knowing they were pregnant and get pregnant and then have to take the second dose within the first trimester. Delivered perfectly fine. It is actually perfectly safe to take it in all the trimesters. I just find it a little easier to appease my mothers that way, to be honest, because the first trimester is when the baby is forming, and that's when the baby is most delicate and vulnerable to changes. And because miscarriages are a reality in our society, even though we pretend that it's not, I like to get my moms out of the first trimester so that they can then breathe a sigh of relief, see that their baby is structurally developed okay, and then take the vaccine. So it's not actually, it's not completely medically indicated, but I feel like it gives them a better, because I try to find a good balance for my patients and my mothers. I find that it gives them a better peace of mind that they're okay, as opposed to they get the vaccine, heaven forbid, knock on wood, something were to happen and they miscarry. Mind you, that may have happened anyway, but because they got the vaccine, they might not have the psychological impact of, not being sure, etc. So I tend to err on the side of after the first trimester, but the guidelines actually state internationally that we can do it at any trimester and be perfectly fine.
Wow, thank you. We have another question here that says, how does the COVID-19 vaccine affect women with hormone or fertility problems such as PCOS or endometriosis? Sorry, what is PCOS?
So PCOS, also known as PCOS, right, is polycystic ovarian syndrome. Right, it's a syndrome which is a condition in which a woman has multiple cysts, which are water-filled sacs in her ovaries. And it's linked to a lot of hormonal and really just chemical imbalances. So they're actually already prone to irregular periods. They're already prone to fertility issues sometimes as well. And so they sometimes are particularly concerned because, you know, when you're starting off being concerned that you may have a difficulty, you don't want to add anything to make that might make it even more difficult. But because it doesn't have any implications on your fertility, I find the PCOS patients are fine. Again, it might cause a bit of irregularities. If you had gotten control of your cycle and you were celebrating, just mentally prepare. It may go off for a cycle or two, but it will normally come back right after. And at baseline, you will remain at your baseline. It's really just to now focus on controlling the PCOS and working with your doctor to get to your targets, whatever your targets are. The reason why I smile is I've actually had a couple of patients with endometriosis who have told me that their pain have gotten better since doing the vaccine.
What?
Yeah, I found it very strange, but I was very glad for it. I have seen that in my office. I do not have the statistics to say, this is a thing, yes. But that's just, anecdotally something that I've observed. But again, because of the fact that the vaccine does not infiltrate you on a serious molecular level, it really should not significantly change the course of either condition. So it would really just be about the prevention of the disease and then working with your physician or your gynecologist to control whatever other conditions you have.
Oh, thank you. Now, this is more scientific question. What scientific research or proof is there in regards to how the vaccine does or does not affect such persons? So the persons with the PCOS. So what scientific research is there in regards to how the vaccines affect or does not affect?
So the scientific research that we've had are the studies, right? So what we've been doing, what they've been doing internationally, and we're talking about all the international bodies, so like the World Health Organization, the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, etc. They've been funding studies in which they take a wide cross-section of women, which would include women, and they include women with conditions like PCOS, endometriosis, etc. And then they compare them. They vaccinate some, and then they leave some unvaccinated, and they watch to see what are their periods like, what are their hormone surges like, what are their ovulation rates like, what are their conception rates like. And then they compare them and realize that, and they run the data through the analysis to see, if it is what we call statistically significant. Right, which I'm sure you guys use those kind of numbers here in the bank, right? Yes. And then based on that is when they make their conclusions and their deductions to state, equivocally, yes, there is a link between so and so, or no, there is not a link between infertility and, women and their general women. And within the subset of women with those conditions would have been included as well.
Very well. This question, I believe, surprisingly, it is from a male. So since the virus,
it sounds so disappointing.
Since the virus can still be transmitted in the vaccinated, to what extent can it mutate and worse result in a more severe mutation? And the reason why I found it surprising, the person who asked that question, I know them very well. So no, I'm not gonna bust it.
Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to try and answer that question in two parts. So just to recap, to make sure I understand, right. The question was, since you can still contract it,
right?
How is it going to help us to get
to what extent? To what extent can it mutate?
Oh, okay. All right. So it can still mutate, but the odds are significantly decreased. So what it is that mutation happens as something continues to spread and divide and replicate, right? And so the more and if you think back at it, when the last mutation with Delta happened, it was right around the time when we're having a surge again. So whenever you see a surge is when we're at risk of mutations. And by having people vaccinated, one, you're trying to the main benefits of the vaccination is to try and decrease the chance of you even contracting it. So what you're trying to really do with the vaccination is cut down the amount of people having it. And therefore you can contain it better and therefore eradicate it in that way. If you do still have people contracting it, which we know can still happen in COVID-19, one, they should have milder symptoms, and therefore they should have milder symptoms, and therefore it will affect you from a hospital standpoint in terms of your hospitalization numbers, your bed occupancy, etc. But it won't really affect you from the mutation side of things. How the mutation side gets a cap on it is really by helping to stop people getting infected, which is why if you look at the information out there, that even when people are vaccinated, there is some evidence to show that we might still have to wear masks for a little while and still do some of the social distancing, because in and of itself, it won't do it by itself, but by reducing the numbers, containing it, then we can eradicate it. And once we can get it eradicated, the mutations should be significantly controlled.
Thank you.
You're able to understand me from that.
Well, I hope that everybody who's watching and listening would have been able to understand. Now, this question says, I've seen places like Gibraltar, which has had 99% vaccination rate and 40% booster shot rates. Their infections and hospitalizations have skyrocketed. If 99% doesn't provide herd immunity, will there ever be?
That's why I made the comment a while ago about, the evidence is showing we might still have to wear a mask. Yes. I'm one step ahead of you, sir, whoever you are, or ma'am. But yeah, so definitely that was a bit disappointing to see. My understanding of it, though, was that they had a surge, but their hospitalizations, while they had gone up, were nowhere near what they were in the past. And that's, for me, part of the big thing about vaccination, which is kind of why I was segueing to it a while ago. So vaccinations help on a personal level in terms of your risk of contracting the disease. It also helps your risk of being a carrier, and it helps your risk where if you do contract it, the chance of you having a severe infection is significantly less, right? And that helps you personally. Vaccination helps us as a country because even if we do catch it, it should be less severe. And then it helps in terms of hospitalizations, bed occupancy, and things of that nature. There is the potential to have a vaccinated community. And if you have people still unmasked without social distancing, you can still have spread, which is what I think happened in Gibraltar. The benefit should be that even though you're having the spread, it should still be a milder case as opposed to what we have experienced in the past. So it might be more where the COVID is more like a flu version, which is what we thought it was initially, and as opposed to what we had the other day when our hospitals were full. Because we in Jamaica do not have the capacity to have another situation like what we did earlier this year, where our beds were full, when people had to be turned back, when people were dying because they could not get onto the ward, they could not get the care, we were running out of oxygen. We as a country cannot afford to go back there. And that is where on a national scale, vaccination helps. So yes, you can still have spread. Yes, you can still have large spread as Gibraltar is showing us. But as a country, the burden on the healthcare sector, the burden of the economics of running the healthcare sector at that level occupancy, the burden on the people in the healthcare sector should be significantly improved. And also your quality of life should also be improved. Whereas if you even get it, it should not have the deleterious effects on you as a person and your family.
Well, what have been interesting to find out is what are the death rates like, or what is death rate like in Gibraltar?
Yes.
Because whilst hospitalization may have been high, deaths may not have been
agreed.
high. So that if it is even just for that, being vaccinated would have assisted them greatly.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly.
Right. Do we have any questions from our audience? Do we have any questions from our audience? I see a few of you mulling about. No? No? Yes? Yes, I believe we have a question. She's running to get the question. So this must be a serious question. Yeah. All right. So the question is, how soon after contracting the virus would you recommend taking the vaccine?
The recommendation from our ministry is that you should wait 3 months after contracting the virus to then take the vaccine. Because that's a recommendation.
You made mention of the fact that this vaccine does not work as the full vaccine taking a part of the virus. Person developing natural antibodies from does that provide immunity?
It provides temporary immunity, which is why part of the reason why we tell people that they can wait after contracting the disease. Plus, we also just want the body to be able to kind of rebuild and to restructure before taking the vaccine. How long it lasts varies from person to person. They've been doing studies to try and get an exact timeline. And what they've found is that there's a range. It depends a lot on other cofactors, so like your age. It depends on if you have comorbidities. It depends on the general strength of your immune system to see how well you mounted antibodies or immunity when you had the infection itself. And so there's no one answer to give for that, for how long it lasts. But we do know that it does go down. And that's why, and that vaccination, antibody and immunity seems to last longer than natural immunity, but even vaccination-induced immunity also wanes after a period of time. And that's why the boosters have come into play. And if you notice, that's also why the boosters are currently marketed for people whose initial immune response may not have been as strong. So people who have comorbidities, who are on drugs that may suppress their body's immune response, things like that. I hope that gave clarity.
Is the person back from the vault with the question? Okay. I gather you delivered it very well. Very well. Any other question? Okay. So now I have a question for you, Doc. Now, persons who have illnesses such as like hypertension, who would be on, medication for a number of years. Has there been any cases where those medications have worked counter to the vaccine, or have you heard of any case where persons have been affected by taking the vaccine based on the fact that they are taking another medication that may not be compatible with the vaccine?
I actually have not heard of a case of that to date. I know that there is some consideration for some of the immunosuppressant medications for persons with things like lupus or autoimmune diseases who are on medications to suppress immunity and suppress infection fighting capacity, because they have conditions where their body naturally fights itself. So they take a medication to suppress the body's fighting capacity, and therefore there's consideration for that when people are vaccinated. But I've not heard of any of the other non-communicable diseases such as hypertension and diabetes having any significant cross reactions or implications from the vaccine. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Okay.
Thank God. Thank you. So there being no other questions? Yes, there's another question from the gentleman in the back. You may go ahead. You don't have to wait on the camera. You can go ahead.
because we all have to the vaccinate. It's important to school. But my personal experience, time frame, all our technology has evolved. Time frame which it takes to actually develop the vaccine can be reduced. However, what are the studies that are being carried out that also relates to the effects of the mass vaccination? Are there any information that you could provide as to what is happening, studies on those things? Because they would not have had that time to make the vaccine, in my opinion, effective as they would try.
Can you just repeat the question for me, please? No, okay. What I just want to make sure I understand you clearly because I just want to address it as best as possible. So you're saying that you have a concern about the time length that it took for the vaccine to be created, correct? Okay. Put in use. Okay. Okay. So the fact that we skip certain phases of testing that we would have normally done. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, are there any information
Mhm.
regarding if these persons are being monitored, how many people have died from the effects of that? So those things are probably told them you know because of what it is. Scientific, right? That's anything that you provide that.
Most certainly. So yes, what they did is because they bypassed some of the testing phases is that they kind of initiated it and monitored to see what would happen. So especially people that got like the first couple million doses of the vaccines worldwide, especially in countries like in the USA, where they manufacture lots of the vaccines, in particular Moderna, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, they were placed on a registry and they were monitored. They were monitored by the CDC. This information was passed on to the CDC, the WHO, all the international bodies, and they would check in on them on regular intervals to make sure, one, are you alive? Two, are you having any issues, right? Are you having any issues? Have you contracted the virus, over this time span, on a monthly basis? Have you been tested positive for COVID-19? And that's how we came to realize, hold on, people can still get the virus even though they got the vaccine. And they say, okay, if you got it, what were your symptoms like? And that's where we got the information that, okay, when they looked at the numbers, they said, oh, they got it, but it was a lot less than the non-vaccinated population. And those who got it had very mild symptoms in comparison. So all the information that we have, whether it be good information or bad information, is actually from observing these patients these people rather, because they are people, from observing these people over the last roughly 2 years, thereabouts. And so that's how we've gathered the information about what the vaccine does do and what it doesn't do. Because some of it has been good and reassuring, but some of it, let's be honest, has been a little disappointing because we were really hoping that it would have just caused us to not get COVID-19 at all. Yeah. And we got that information from observing them. So yes, we do know, and they have not had any vaccine-related deaths so far. No, that's a lie. They've had 1 or 2 vaccine-related deaths, but they've been statistically very, very low.
So just a quick follow-up. So the question regarding, the time frame now and the tracking in Jamaica, is our Ministry of Health employing a similar type of system where they can track what is happening to the persons who would have been vaccinated to date?
So we do have something similar in Jamaica, but it is not to the scale that the first world countries do, such as United States of America, United Kingdom, etc. And it's not for lack of want, it's just that we just don't have the resources, Unfortunately, we don't have the funds to track every single person that has been vaccinated. We also don't have the financial resources to expend that amount of capital to do that. But they do have a registry of all the patients that have received the vaccine. They do have a follow-up, kind of like a community contact tracing that does follow up. They randomly select and follow up. And what we also do in the hospital is that if somebody does come in with COVID-19 and they are hospitalized or they are tested positive for COVID-19, it is cross-referenced with the registry that we have for vaccinated people, because they want to then find out, because we want to have the statistics to say to people, you know, this is the case, this is it, this is not. And so we cross-reference to see, was this person vaccinated or were they not? Did they get 1 dose? Did they get 2 doses? And that information is being captured. I believe that the Prime Minister did allude to some of it, or the Health Minister, I think, alluded to it at one of his press briefings. And I suspect soon they'll probably come out with a summary of the findings so far. But yes, we do have some tracking and registration going on.
Great. Yes, Mr. Questionnaire is back.
Yes.
Scientific information that they actually assess having contracted COVID-19 or being vaccinated.
Yeah, so we do have information about that as well. And one of my counterparts, Dr. Wedderburn, actually came out in the newspaper recently and spoke about it, that the evidence is actually showing that COVID-19 itself, the virus, does cause erectile dysfunction, and it does cause testicular issues that can affect sperm quality as well. Whereas the vaccine has not been shown to do any of those things. And therefore, it is another pro in the argument for vaccination at this point in time. So we'll just protect that testicular fortitude, right?
Right, indeed. Indeed. So the vaccination rate in Jamaica is now like 20%. Where do we ideally need to be to get back to normal?
Can we try for 100, please? If we all work together,
If we can't get there, where do we need to be at least?
We really want to get above 50, guys. I mean, 50% is a pass, and we are failing miserably as a country in this regard. We're not doing very well in that front, and our other counterparts in the region within the Caribbean are kind of showing us up. I'm not even gonna lie. A lot of the smaller islands, and some people will say, oh, you know, they have a smaller population and things like that. And that's true. They probably have better access, you know, because their countries are smaller. So, you know, navigating to a vaccination site might be a little easier for them. But they also have the will to do it. They have the drive to do it. And I think that that's something that we don't have as much in Jamaica. And I think some of it is just not understanding enough, you know. And so I'm so glad that JN is having this series, and I'm so happy to be a part of it. And I just hope and pray that I was able to help someone, even if it's just 1 or 2. I mean, I'm really aiming for more, but if, you know, somebody to help to understand it a little bit better, to feel a little bit more comfortable, and to potentially make the decision to get vaccinated. I think that's really where we need to be working on, getting people to understand so that we can improve and get back to life.
So a lot of our JN family are parents, and I'm sure they would love to know, is the vaccine safe for my child, my children? What age should they look to, you know, take this vaccine? You know, things like that. What do you have to say to them?
Yes, actually. But yeah, I mean, the short answer is so far, yes. I understand that people are cautious, but if you actually look at the way the information is coming out, you'll realize that we're really checking this stuff before we give you word. So the fact that we first came out and said, well, and by we, I mean internationally, you know, okay, we have the vaccines, come and get it, but only to a certain age. And then they tested again and they watched and they said, okay, yes, breastfeeding mothers can get it, but hold off on the pregnant women. And then we tested again and we watched and we said, okay, yes, pregnant people can get it. And then they tested again and watched and said, children can get it. Of course, the evidence that we have so far is limited to the Pfizer vaccine. And so as it stands right now, the Pfizer is the only one internationally recommended for children, for people under the age of 18, rather, over 12 and under 18. But from a chemical level, all of them really probably are. But the reason why we can't say that is because we just haven't tested it. We haven't studied it. And because we know it's so important to study it before telling you. So the fact that they were able to do this, watch it, monitor these children, and come to that conclusion should give you some amount of reassurance that due diligence has been done. Yes, we haven't studied them for 10 years, but due diligence has been done and that this is safe. On the contrary, which I want to also just point out is that on one end, we found out that these things are safe, but another thing that just happened recently is that we found out that COVID is getting more and more aggressive. And I think that's what's also pushing the limit in terms of who we give the vaccine to. Because before we weren't seeing young people with it. And then, I mean, I personally, as I said, work in the public system. And I tell you, at Jubilee, we had tons of pregnant people in that last wave coming in with COVID. Even now, we have tons of pregnant people getting sick. And that's part of what also pushed the campaign now to vaccinate pregnant women. And similarly with the children, they're finding that more and more children are catching COVID-19 and more children are getting severely ill because of contracting the virus. So it's kind of a scale with the safety of the vaccine and the adverse potential adverse outcome of the infection. And what we've been finding is it's become more and more a no-brainer because the more testing we do, it's showing that it's safe. So the safety of the vaccine is going up, and the more and more it changes and mutates is the more and more deleterious the actual effects of contracting the virus are getting. And therefore it's pushing us into the direction, not pushing, but it's showing us that the direction that we should be going in is vaccination.
Wow, thank you so much. Now, are we ready for the poll? So appearing on your screen now should be a brief poll, which we will invite you to submit. But while we await the results of the poll, we'll share a brief testimonial from Jillian Jackson of Jane Group Business Advisory Services.
To be vaccinated to protect those in my family who could not get vaccinated, particularly my 2 young children. I didn't want to be the one responsible for bringing any type of virus into the house that could harm them detrimentally, because we really don't know how it's going to impact each person. So I chose to ensure that myself and my spouse and all of the family members that come in close contact with them are vaccinated, so that if anything happens to either of us, we don't pass on those adverse effects to the kids that cannot get vaccinated. Well, they could not at the moment. I know they're opening it up now for younger kids, but I chose to do it for them. All right.
Thank you, Jillian. Jillian chose to do it for them, and we should also choose to do it for ours. We will now have 3 giveaways. I know this is the time that everybody will be up and ready. So please listen closely to the rules. Now I'll ask a question of you, the audience. The first person to respond correctly in the chat will be selected. There'll be 3 questions and 3 winners. The winner of each question will be sent their prize from, guess who? No, People and Culture team. So you can always call Dahlia if you have to. So the first question, quick question, Dahlia, how do we get our audience here involved? Or are these strictly for online? Never mind, we have a special prize for you all in the audience. So this is just for the online people who weren't able to be here with us today. So first question, what is the name of our Jane vaccination campaign? Am I to wait for the answers, Dahlia, or should I just move on? All right, that's the first question. And question number 2. In which parish was the first Jane vaccination blitz? In which parish was the first Jane vaccination blitz? I'm sure everybody would know that. Okay, question 3 is for the audience, or live audience here. Now this is very easy. So name one leader that was featured on Guess the Jane Vax Leader. Now, yes, Dr. Bridgewater says that she saw your hand first. Mr. Earl Jarrett, is that correct? We saw somebody else in the back. Oh, she stole the answer. That's called teamwork. That is true teamwork.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah. You thought it and she said it. So your prize will be delivered to you by so she can certainly deliver. So for the winners of the online, for the winners, person who are online, good. Your prizes will be delivered to you by People and Culture. And again, as I said before, if you have an issue, call Delia. All right, the poll results are in. Are they in? Okay, all right. So we need some more participation in the poll, guys. Please just go on and answer the questions quickly. We need to have far more participation than we're seeing so far. Let's try and see if we can get close to 100% participation.
100% is a target.
100% is the target. Absolutely correct. How are we now, Delia? How are we on the poll?
So you had mentioned that this is the first of the series.
Yes, certainly. First of many. The Jane People and Culture team, they've done a fantastic job throughout the organization, trying to ramp up and get people motivated to go out and get vaccinated. One of our, as Jillian Jackson mentioned a while ago, she did it to protect her family, and that's sort of the thing that we're trying to breathe into the Jane family.
Certainly. Certainly. I mean, I think it's a great initiative to have that you guys are, that invested in your staff to want to protect them in that way and to help to just, spread the awareness and information. And I think that's a very commendable initiative. And I hope that other institutions are taking heed as well.
Yeah, indeed. Delia, you'll have to take credit for that one. Certainly. Are we ready? Yes? All right, let's see the results. Our producer is having some technical difficulties. Okay.
What I feel like.
Results are in.
The result. We have Natoya Brown, who will be taking us through the results. Natoya, over to you. Please get the camera, Natoya, quickly.
Thank you. And camera ready right now. All right. So based on the questions, it asks, have you taken the vaccine? And 63% of persons online indicated yes, which is very good compared to the 38% that have indicated no. My poll results have jumped. Right.
They got so excited.
I believe I was too camera ready. But while Kevin brings it back on screen, I'll just say that for the Jane group, we're almost at 800 persons that have gotten at least one dose of the vaccine. So we're rising. We're almost at,
clap yourselves, clap yourselves.
Next question. If you were not planning on taking the vaccine, if no, are you planning on taking? Overwhelming number says 88% yes. We don't have a hesitancy problem in JN, right? Awesome, maybe it's Dr. Bridgewater. I'm not sure. You never can tell. And then it says, why, if you're hesitant? 25% fear of needles. So I don't want you to just wrap up with that one, as well as no trust in the vaccine research. And I think you have done a good job, giving us some more information to help us. And then the preferred brand of vaccine not available, Pfizer. So that's our results. And over to you, Kerry.
Thank you so much, Natalia. Very encouraging results.
Yes, I'm very pleasantly surprised. I'm very proud of GN and that poll result.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, to hear that over 800 of our staff members have at least gotten one dose at this time.
And in some cases, it just takes one dose.
It just, in some cases. Doc, quick question. There is this desire, and I want to use that word. I use that word deliberately. There's this desire for Pfizer. Some people say it's, because it's American
brand name
and the works. What do you put it down to?
I think it's a compilation of things. I think that we do have a proclivity to tend towards things that come from America. As Jamaicans, we love American things, right? Florida is our backyard and we're very accustomed to the US, and that's our comfort zone. So hearing that the US is doing something, it innately gives us a certain level of confidence just by association, I think, as a people. So I think that people tend towards those vaccines for that reason. I think also part of it is because they're seeing that Pfizer is now being tested for the children and it's safe in all this wider subset of people, that it therefore makes people of the impression that Pfizer is the best, Pfizer is the safest, because if that's the one they're willing to give the kids, then that must be the safest one, and that's the one that I want too. What I will say to that, one, if you want a Pfizer, I'm quite fine with that. I just love for people to be vaccinated, regardless of the brand, to be honest with you, because any vaccination is better than no vaccination for me. What we have to be careful of is just because something is in front of our face more, we trust it more, right? Because part of why Pfizer has clearance when some of the other vaccines don't is because Pfizer has more money than a lot of the other vaccines. So as a result, they can pump more money into the research, they can pump more money into the studies, and the more studies they get is the more clearance they get, which therefore gives them more visibility, and therefore people feel like it's safer. But on a scientific, on a molecular basis, they're all the same, right? They're pretty much just as good, right? I can speak personally. I got AstraZeneca and I'm quite comfortable. I do not have FOMO. I do not feel like I'm missing out on anything with Pfizer or J&J. I got AstraZeneca because one, I'm frontline. So as soon as the vaccine came, I was one of the first people to be eligible for it. And as I said, having sat down and thought about the pros and cons, I decided that this is the best way to protect myself. This is the best way to protect my family. And this is the best way to be able to go forward and have my children later on in life. That being said, I've had no issues, and a lot of the studies that are coming out are showing that AstraZeneca might have longer lasting immunity. And it's really 6 of one, half dozen of the other. And I want to express that on a molecular level, on a cellular level, they are pretty much all the same. And so what's most important is not having the fancy one, but being vaccinated, right? It doesn't matter if it's brand name jeans or not. The important thing is to not have your underwear exposed. You understand what I'm saying here, guys? I just want you to be protected, and they can all protect you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And thank you again, Natalia. Now, this question is for our audience. I want you all to share with us your feedback on our Immunize, Save Lives campaign, as well as any suggestions that you may have, that we can build vaccine confidence and promote vaccination against COVID. So I'll throw it out there. Any member of the team who would like to give their thoughts on the current campaign that the JN Group is running. And in the and in the chat as well. But this question, I'd really like to hear from at least one or two of our audience. So, right. So the campaign, the JN campaign, Immunize, Save Lives campaign. I want to give your thoughts on it. You know, how do you think that it has been going so far? And do you have any suggestions as it relates to how we can improve on the program and how we can help to build the confidence of our staff members to get vaccinated?
What I can say is that the approach or the angle that has been taken is to inform, and well, that's what you have to do first and foremost, to inform the population, because a lot of persons have concerns, genuine concerns. This here where you are addressing the fertility issues with women, which for a nation, not just for an individual. I mean, Jamaica is slowly becoming an aging population, and females are no longer having that many children that they used to. And the few are thinking about it will want to know, is it safe? So we have to look at the fact that we have to dissect the problems and address those issues as we go along. So the approach so far to me, it's fine, and we need to just continue along that path.
Continue having the conversations right across the JN Group. Yeah. Thank you. Natoya? No, it doesn't have an off button, sir. Please.
Just want to share that when we started this campaign, we were at about 720 team members being vaccinated, and we're now pretty much at 800. And I don't want to necessarily take the credit that it is this campaign that is driving the increase, but we have to kind of correlate it to the time period. So we do believe that it is actually, giving persons the information so that they can make decisions that is best for themselves and their family. And I just want to do a little plug to say that we are doing a vaccination site at the Bishop Gibson High School on Wednesday, November 24th, from 9 to 4 p.m. And we did one similar in Petersfield, and we had almost 200 persons, not JN members, just community people coming to get vaccinated. And so this is our second drive now to help the nation's children get vaccinated, while we also encourage our JN Group persons to get vaccinated.
Thank you, Natoya. Yeah, Doc, you wanted to comment on that?
Yeah, I think that is commendable. I mean, I think I've already mentioned many times how great I think it is that you guys are having this in-house discussion. But when private sector Jamaica steps up, you really just have to take notice and thank them, because I have noticed that quite a few of the private sector entities have been contributing in trying to get the vaccines out there, trying to increase people's access, because part of what, we had discussed some of the vaccine hesitancies, but some of the things that some people have said to me is them can't deal with the crowd.
Yes.
Everybody a bungle up at arena, I'm bound for catch COVID before I get the vaccine, right? And I think having these smaller groups, these smaller vaccination sites, having these vaccination sites in areas that are closer to somebody's community, because it's not just about us, in this room who would have a certain level of privilege being vaccinated. This is something that we want for all of our people, right? And we want it for everybody, those who can afford to drive to arena, those who have to take public transport to the arena, so people who might have to walk to their vaccination site, and to bring that vaccination site closer to them, more accessible to them. I think that is the way. I think we have to increase on education, and we have to increase on accessibility. And I think that JN seems to be doing an amazing job, because you guys are winning on both fronts right now. Informing your in-house and being able to making it accessible to both your in-house and to the wider population of Jamaica, because I'm sure JN is all about building the future and trying to protect us from COVID-19 is a part of the future.
Certainly, we'll help you find a way. So,
You want to hire me?
send me an email. All right, so as we conclude, on this Vax Chat, there's one last bit of information from Natoya. We're trying to get her mic'd up or re-mic'd.
What's the question?
Right.
Oh, we did. So it's by
Yeah, we did.
Bishop Gibson.
Right,
High
right.
School,
Okay.
November 24th.
So double take. We call this double take in
In
showbiz,
case you missed it the first time.
just in case you missed it.
Rebroadcast.
I hope our producer had rebroadcast on top right-hand corner. Very well, very well. Okay, so as we start to wrap this Vax Chat, thanks to our Jane staff members who've shared their thoughts by video. Claudine Allen, Jane Foundation General Manager, Justine Renee Jarrett of Jane Group Marketing, Javon Williams from the Jane Group Social Media Unit, and Gillian Jackson of the Business Advisor Services. I wish to thank you, our Jane family. Thanks also to Mr. Latti, our Executive People and Culture, and his team for arranging a Vax Chat session of this nature. And of course, this could not have been possible without our good and able Dr. Bridgewater. We thank you for lending us your time and expertise, Doc. The conversation has been meaningful, and I know the JN team would have appreciated it more than anything else.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. Now, to wrap things, my Jane family, I hope that you have found the session meaningful, and that if you're not yet vaccinated, that you'll use information provided to make that decision. The more Jamaicans become vaccinated, is more we all return to normal and regain our freedom that we all so very much want. Freedom to go back to church, play sports, travel, right?
Certainly.
Breathe and just hug. The very simple things that we used to take for granted, we can't do them now. Let us get back to what we know. I leave you with three action points. Don't just read what you see on WhatsApp and social media. Get the real facts. Visit the Ministry of Health website, CDC website for updates and information on the vaccine and the virus. And of course, if you're not yet vaccinated, do it for your family, do it for yourself. Immunize, save lives. Thank you. I'm Kerry Scott. I've been your moderator, and with me today was Dr. Kirian Bridgewater. I thank you. We thank you. Jane thanks you. Have a great afternoon.
Hi, I'm Claudine Allen. I'm General Manager of the Jane Foundation, or community arm, and we believe in putting people first. But today I'm talking to you as a daughter, a sister, as a fellow Jamaican who has been vaccinated. We can only get back to some semblance of normalcy if we develop immunity to this dreaded virus. This global pandemic has changed so many things in our lives, and there are things I am longing for. I'm longing for a beach day. I'm longing to just meet with my friends and enjoy food and frolic and fun. So do the maths. We have had over 80,000 cases and rising. I got immunized because I wanted to protect myself and my family. I encourage you to go to your nearest vaccination site and get immunized, and to do it right now.
Hi, I'm Jeff, and I decided to get the vaccine because I felt like it was the right thing to do for myself and my family. I mean, I feel like I needed to play my role in advancing the welfare of the entire human race, and my job is just a small drop in the bucket for a safer and a better tomorrow. Getting the vaccine was pretty easy, pretty simple, much like squeezing a pimple. I got both doses, took my painkillers on time, got my rest, drank my water, and now I'm fully immunized. Listen and speak to your doctor. Don't listen and speak to your WhatsApp group them. Focus on the persons, who have actual knowledge in these things, and everything's gonna be easy. I mean, I'm here, I'm okay, and this could be you. Immunize, save lives.
I decided to get the vaccine because I do not want to be a burden on our healthcare system. I also, of course, want to protect my friends, my family, and all those who might be more vulnerable than I might be. I miss being outside. As cliche as it might sound, I miss you, our members. I miss interacting with you. I miss your smiles. Just being able to see you is what I miss. Getting the vaccine for me was pretty simple. I had no major side effects, slight headache and fever, but that's nothing a painkiller couldn't manage. Immunize, save lives.
Hi, I'm Claudine Allen. I'm General Manager of the Jane Foundation, or community arm, and we believe in putting people first. But today I'm talking to you as a daughter, a sister, as a fellow Jamaican who has been vaccinated. We can only get back to some semblance of normalcy if we develop immunity to this dreaded virus. This global pandemic has changed so many things in our lives, and there are things I am longing for. I'm longing for a beach day. I'm longing to just meet with my friends and enjoy food and frolic and fun. So do the maths. We have had over 80,000 cases and rising. I got immunized because I wanted to protect myself and my family. I encourage you to go to your nearest vaccination site and get immunized, and to do it right now.
Hi, I'm Jeff, and I decided to get the vaccine because I felt like it was the right thing to do for myself and my family. I mean, I feel like I needed to play my role in advancing the welfare of the entire human race, and my job is just a small drop in the bucket for a safer and a better tomorrow. Getting the vaccine was pretty easy, pretty simple, much like squeezing a pimple. I got both doses, took my painkillers on time, got my rest, drank my water, and now I'm fully immunized. Listen and speak to your doctor. Don't listen and speak to your WhatsApp group them. Focus on the persons, who have actual knowledge in these things, and everything's gonna be easy. I mean, I'm here, I'm okay, and this could be you. Immunize, save lives.
I decided to get the vaccine because I do not want to be a burden on our healthcare system. I also, of course, want to protect my friends, my family, and all those who might be more vulnerable than I might be. I miss being outside. As cliche as it might sound, I miss you, our members. I miss interacting with you. I miss your smiles. Just being able to see you is what I miss. Getting the vaccine for me was pretty simple. I had no major side effects, slight headache and fever, but that's nothing a painkiller couldn't manage. Immunize, save lives.
Hi, I'm Claudine Allen. I'm General Manager of the Jane Foundation, or community arm, and we believe in putting people first. But today I'm talking to you as a daughter, a sister, as a fellow Jamaican who has been vaccinated. We can only get back to some semblance of normalcy if we develop immunity to this dreaded virus. This global pandemic has changed so many things in our lives, and there are things I am longing for. I'm longing for a beach day. I'm longing to just meet with my friends and enjoy food and frolic and fun. So do the maths. We have had over 80,000 cases and rising. I got immunized because I wanted to protect myself and my family. I encourage you to go to your nearest vaccination site and get immunized, and to do it right now.
Hi, I'm Jeff, and I decided to get the vaccine because I felt like it was the right thing to do for myself and my family. I mean, I feel like I needed to play my role in advancing the welfare of the entire human race, and my job is just a small drop in the bucket for a safer and a better tomorrow. Getting the vaccine was pretty easy, pretty simple, much like squeezing a pimple. I got both doses, took my painkillers on time, got my rest, drank my water, and now I'm fully immunized. Listen and speak to your doctor. Don't listen and speak to your WhatsApp group them. Focus on the persons, who have actual knowledge in these things, and everything's gonna be easy. I mean, I'm here, I'm okay, and this could be you. Immunize, save lives.
I decided to get the vaccine because I do not want to be a burden on our healthcare system. I also, of course, want to protect my friends, my family, and all those who might be more vulnerable than I might be. I miss being